Welcome back to The Explainer. So, to the average international observer, Thailand's famous Land of Smiles brand feels like this spontaneous, almost magical projection of pure joy. But today, we're taking a deep dive into the incredibly complex psychological, historical, and even geopolitical tapestry that's actually behind it. We're going to deconstruct exactly how a highly localized survival mechanism transformed into a massive, commodified commercial asset. And we'll explore the hidden costs behind the nation's absolute most famous export. Okay, let's dive right into this. Just consider this historic headline from the Bangkok Post way back on May 1st, 1960. It marked the launch of the national carrier, Thai Airways, and it read, "Service with a Thai smile." Now, this wasn't just some catchy PR phrase. It was a foundational moment that really helped launch a completely romanticized global expectation of spontaneous Thai hospitality. It practically cemented the idea that when you visit Thailand or literally just step onto a Thai airplane, you're entering this house in the sky, where warmth is an absolute ironclad guarantee. But where did this expectation really come from? Well, to peel the onion and strip away that commercial facade, we're going to look at a few key things today. First, the global branding machine. Then the roots in water and faith. From there, we'll break down the anatomy of 13 smiles, examine conditional hospitality, look into the land of sadness, and finally explore the digital smile evolution. Let's kick things off with Section 1, the global branding machine. Let's move to the timeline and see how this builds, because this global asset was born from a highly calculated, state-sponsored campaign. Back in the 1940s, the smile was really just an organic, easy way to bypass language barriers with arriving Westerners. Simple enough, right? But skip to 1961, right in the thick of Cold War instability in Southeast Asia. And the military regime of Field Marshal Seret Thanarat actually weaponized the Siam smile. They used it as a major public relations asset to project a sense of absolute safety, specifically to attract American military capital. Then, rolling into the 1970s, Thailand becomes a primary rest and recreation hub for U.S. soldiers during the Vietnam War. That's when the smile fully transitioned from a simple social lubricant into a highly commodified transaction in the nightlife and hospitality sectors. And ultimately, by 1998, the massive Amazing Thailand campaign stepped in and standardized the smile as a fully exportable asset, literally right up there with traditional massage and pad thai. Which brings us to Section 2, Roots in Water and Faith. Let's shift backward in time for a second. Why was this smile so deeply embedded in the culture in the first place? Well, the very word Sam gives us a massive clue. Historically, linguistic roots like sum, sam, or sam denoted swampy lowlands or floodplains. You see, the pre-modern Siamese identity was deeply, deeply agrarian. If you wanted to survive and cultivate rice in these muddy, unpredictable river basins, you absolutely needed intense collective labor, mutual dependence, and crucially, nonverbal harmony. Plus, navigating that environment alongside local animist rituals meant loud, boisterous vocalizations were often off-limits. So the nonverbal smile emerged as the most elegant and, honestly, the safest physical gesture to project humility and peaceful intentions to both your neighbors and the spirits. Fast forward to today, and a staggering 95.9% of the Thai population practices Theravada Buddhism. And this is really the philosophical engine that keeps that harmony intact. In Buddhist ethics, interpersonal conflict is viewed as a direct manifestation of dukkha, which translates to suffering, basically driven by the ego. So to display raw rage or jealousy in public, that's seen as a severe failure of spiritual maturity. So you see, the smile isn't just some knee-jerk reaction to feeling happy. It is a highly conscious, active spiritual discipline that is required to maintain social tranquility. It's fascinating. And this brilliantly illustrates what we call the Athiyasai Maitri, or the framework of Thai hospitality. As you'll see, it goes way deeper than just saying please and thank you. It's actually a highly structured ethical framework. Look at compromise, for example, which is all about avoiding zero-sum disputes to preserve relationships. Or consideration, known as Kreng, which literally prompts you to internalize your own negative feelings just so you don't inconvenience someone else. The smile is essentially the crucial, everyday buffer that makes all of these complex behavioral expressions possible. All right, let's pivot a bit into Section 3, the anatomy of 13 smiles. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that there isn't just one monolithic Thai smile. It actually functions almost like a complex socio-linguistic vocabulary. Anthropologists have identified at least 13 distinct, unofficially documented smiles that people expertly deploy to manage daily social friction, all without ever raising a voice. Take Yim Dor Than, the disagreement smile. You might completely disagree with someone, but you smile to comply and just keep the peace. Or Yim Yao, the mocking smile. It's basically a way of saying, I told you so, without having to utter a single harsh word. And then there's Yim Fuin, the forced smile, which you pull out to politely navigate an incredibly awkward situation. It's literally a highly sophisticated silent language. And hey, it's not just sociological, it's heavily physiological too. The actual physical tension and dental visibility of a smile actively broadcast distinct professional boundaries. For instance, a wide smile with a lot of dental visibility, that's perfect for frontline service. It projects this absolute warm openness. But a thin smile, where the lips barely part, well, that's what we call the diplomatic smile. It gives you the standard required politeness, but it firmly establishes professional boundaries. You know exactly where you stand. Moving right along to Section 4, the conditional hospitality. To really understand this, we need to deconstruct Thai-ness and look at the very real boundaries of this famous welcome. Because while it might look completely passive to an outsider, it absolutely is not. Historians like Sujit Wongthayas argue that during the 19th century era of Western colonial expansion, the celebrated smile was actually a Yim Su. That's a self-defensive, almost nervous smile of incomprehension that locals deployed when they simply couldn't understand foreign languages or demands. So rather than being a sign of passive submission, it acted as a brilliant, strategic social shield. It minimized friction and kept foreign powers at a polite but very safe distance, ultimately helping Siam maintain its sovereignty. And honestly, that defensive boundary is still very much intact today. Just listen to these translated lyrics from the legendary Lukthung singer Pumpwang Duanjen in her absolutely iconic song Siam Wan Yim. She sings, "A warning to those who reside here. If you respect Thai rights, you may stay. Kind Siam will always smile." I mean, wow. That powerfully illustrates that the national smile is highly conditional. It's a gesture of hospitality that will instantly, and I mean instantly, withdraw into a firm defensive nationalism if sovereignty or cultural boundaries are ever disrespected. Let's gently shift gears into Section 5, the land of sadness. So what actually happens when you're culturally obligated to smile even when you're deeply hurting inside? Today, social commentators are drawing a pretty stark contrast here. The glowing tourism brand of Siam Wung Yim, the land of smiles, is colliding head-on with the reality of Siam Wung Srao, the land of sadness. Because displaying mental vulnerability is so highly stigmatized in a culture obsessed with preserving social harmony, individuals end up internalizing their struggles. And the result? Statistics are showing a steady rise in clinical depression, anxiety, and suicide rates, all hidden behind this cheerful, mandatory public facade. So the crucial point is that in the modern workforce, this manifests as extreme emotional labor. Think about it. First, workers have to engage in surface acting, literally fabricating a cheerful mask while they might be completely exhausted. Second, this creates emotional dissonance. That's a severe psychological tension between how you truly feel and how you're forced to perform. And finally, this leads directly to profound alienation and burnout. Workers become entirely alienated from their own authentic emotions. Studies show this disproportionately impacts women, who make up a huge portion of frontline service roles. Basically, the iconic smile becomes a psychological pressure cooker. Which leads us to our final section, Section 6, the digital smile evolution. How does this ancient cultural trait possibly survive the pressure cooker of the 21st century? Well, observations show that in highly urbanized centers, like Bangkok, for example, people are actually just smiling less in public. Macroeconomic stagnation and rising debt simply leave less capacity for spontaneous social gestures. Plus, the sheer acceleration of city life is rapidly eroding that traditional, relaxed, sabai-sabai lifestyle. And crucially, we're seeing a younger generation that is actively demystifying the smile. They're rejecting the cultural obligation to just fake it, and they're demanding the right to express authentic emotions without being labeled as un-Thai. But here's the twist. The smile isn't actually disappearing. It's digitizing. That highly nuanced vocabulary of smiles we looked at earlier, it's migrating straight into digital spaces. Thai consumers are heavily utilizing culturally coded line stickers to send, say, a politely sweating face or an encouraging subtle smile. It's an absolutely brilliant commercial adaptation. It allows people to maintain that essential traditional social lubrication needed to navigate complex modern hierarchies, but, and this is key, without the exhausting physical emotional labor of having to do it in person. And the infrastructure supporting this new digital reality is expanding at a mind-blowing pace. Just look at this number. $880 million. That's the value of a recent green loan backed by Kreng, specifically funding a massive 100-megawatt data center in the Eastern Economic Corridor. To put that into perspective, Thailand is no longer just resting on its tourism laurels. The country is aggressively shifting its identity, leveraging its stable geography to become the AI and digital data center hub of ASEAN. So, the digital migration of Thai culture is literally being backed by billions of dollars in hyperscale infrastructure. It's a massive pivot. Which brings us to the ultimate crossroads. As Thailand transitions from the agrarian land of smiles into this high-stress, hyper-digital AI hub, a massive question remains. Will the nation cultivate authentic, structural mental health support for its people, or will it simply digitize the mask? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.